February board meeting at Laker High School. So with that, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move to approve the minutes dated January 20th as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Mary, supported by Paul to approve the regular minutes as presented. Any questions, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passed. Treasury report, Heath.
General fund bills to be paid for February 2020 are $84,409.99. Food service bills to be paid for February 2020 are $8,590.04. Technology capital project bills to be paid for February 2020 are $831.21. 2015 debt service fund bills to be paid for February 2020 are $500. 2018 capital projects to be paid for February 2020 are $1,082.95. 2018 sinking fund bills to be paid for February 2020 are $1,000. 2019 capital project bills to be paid for February 2020 are $607,687.76. Payroll/liabilities food service and general fund is $18,734.58. I move to accept this report as presented.
It's been moved by moved by Heath, supported by Matt, to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, treasurer's report passed. Public participation.
I have no cards.
Okay, then let's move on to friend of the youth.
I received a number of notes and calls from board members over the past month suggesting that we consider Don and Donna Wheeler as this year's Friend of Youth. Their names came up last year as well, if you might recall, and it was suggested we forward them for consideration again this year. And again, people were interested in, this isn't the kind of thing that requires board action, but it is something that we kind of agree on, and then we'll make contact with this couple and ask them if they would accept this nomination. So I'd like to informally, I guess, or I guess you could call it formally, recommend Don and Donna Wheeler. And I just have this little bit here to read about them. Don and Donna Wheeler have been fixtures in the Laker community for 45 years. Since Don signed on as a rookie ag science teacher, and served a career that would end up lasting just over 42 years. He created a Hall of Fame legacy that is matched across the state and perhaps the nation. Donna, his wife, began driving school bus some years later and then served as a paraprofessional for the Huron ISD, where she was ultimately assigned to work with Laker students, a dream she'd always prayed would come true. She always said she wanted to retire a Laker, and she was able to do that. Donna and Donna also teamed up for many years to breed, train, and show Suffolk sheep, and share their knowledge of the trade with hundreds of local youth from Lakers and beyond, including my own children. They've been tireless supporters of the Huron Community Fair and are largely responsible for the outstanding participation of students and business sponsors that continues to this day. They have tried to retire over the past few years, but can still be seen hanging out at FFA competitions and banquets, school events, and fair activities. You can take the Wheelers out of the school, but you can't take their love for kids out of the Wheelers. It is our honor and privilege to name Don and Donna Wheeler the 2020 Friends of Youth. Thank you for those recommendations, board. Well deserved.
Thank you very much, Brian. Next up is the 2020 board committees. I talked with Brian a little bit about this, and didn't have a lot of outreach from other board members about the positions. I feel that this last year has ran smooth, and we've done a great job as a board, so I've made no changes with that. I do want to thank everybody else for their time that they put into our committees and the hard work they put into helping our school.
I would second that. Thank you for your service, and it'll be nice to keep some continuity there.
Okay, next up is personnel. Superintendent Conley.
Yeah, Coach Verberg having the evening off tonight, just asked that I go through these things. You can see that the positions that have been suggested here for consideration and approval tonight. It's my understanding that Justin Markwart is still somewhat of a question. He would like to help out, but whether he is a full-time assistant or helping more on a volunteer occasional basis is yet to be seen. Same with Brett Metzger. But we thought best to approve them. Even if they are volunteers, it's good to get that approval as they're going to be working with our kids. Everyone else is pretty cut and dry as you look down that list. And thankfully, we're returning a list of veteran coaches. The one exception will be JV Baseball, that's Jeff Talaski. He will be a first-year coach in baseball, certainly not a first-year coach for Lakers. And now they've done a lot of things for us. So unless there's any questions, yeah.
I move to accept the list of,
I'm sorry, just one question. Varsity soccer says co-head coaches, that would be girls and boys?
This is just for the spring ball.
No. Varsity soccer, it says co-head coaches, is that girls soccer and boys soccer?
No.
Just-
Oh, just spring, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Girls.
still in the process of looking for our varsity boys?
There have been some applicants, but yes, nothing's been recommended yet. Yeah, thank you.
I move to accept the list of spring coaches as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mary, supported by Paul, to approve the spring coaches as presented. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, the same? All right, motion passed. Mike, we got the mid-year budget.
So I passed out before the board meeting a document that looks like this. So I did a summary on this front page here on the school letterhead that gives you the update on the budget report for the mid-year. And this is just for the general fund. So you'll see for the general fund budget updates, we have revenues of $11,179,110, with expenditures of $11,155,780, leaving a excess of revenues over expenditures of $23,330, which would put us at 15.3% fund balance as a percentage of expenditures, which is exactly where you want to be. You want to be at that, around that 15%. The state recommends 12 to 15. Auditors tend to recommend 15 to 17. So whatever range you look at, we're healthy when it comes to that percentage. Our blended FTE count, this is the audited, updated count after the fall count. The state gives you an audited, adjusted number late December, early January. So this is that new number that we received, and we're at 954.69, which is approximately 40 students increase from where we were a year ago. So that's positive for our district. And then you can see there the general fund budget being over $11 million is the largest general fund budget Lakers has ever had. We've never been over $11 million for a general fund budget before. So that's approximately 27% larger than where it was 10 years ago in 09-10. And then behind it, I have all the details. You'll see the first page behind that is like a summary that gets posted for transparency on the website. There's a nice, it's a state's format per se, so that gets posted up for the transparency on the website. And then the page behind that is just a little more detail showing it by functional level for your expenditures and your revenue category, state, federal, local revenues for your revenue sources. So that's just a little more detail on that. And then the back page I just have here is just kind of a history. This is from when I started in 07, 08 through the present. It gives you every year what our FTEs were per year, the foundation allowance history, revenue expenditure history, fund balance amounts, fund balance percentage, and then our taxable values over that history as well. So you can kind of see some history of where we've been for the last 12, 13 years as far as revenue growth, foundation, student count, property values, that sort of thing. So I thought it was always kind of good to look back at that history, kind of see where we've been and where we're at today. So it's kind of more of a FYI for you guys, just have a little history to look at if you ever want to see where we've been, what's going on. So I don't know if Brian wants to add anything to what we have tonight.
Just like to thank Mike publicly for the great job he continues to do. You know, when you're talking about that historical high in budgeting, going over 11 million. This year we went over 10 million just for the first time last year. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing lots of growth, and that comes from different places. There's federal, there's grants, and a lot of different things in that money. And it means a lot more work and record keeping and red tape for Mike and our central office staff. So really appreciate what he's doing there. Just as a couple of points of information, this budget does include some earmarks for some things that we intend to purchase right soon, okay? And so they've already been counted as budgeted items. We're looking at some ATV golf vehicle combinations, likely 2 of those. Actually just agreed in theory to an ATV purchase today. That'll be for our maintenance crew. And lots of things, they're very excited about getting that probably in a couple days from now. We just purchased a used high-low, which was much needed, and we got a great price on that. A couple of new snow plows this year, and that's because we're doing a lot more of our own snow plowing without so much community employee assistance, and that's also good. We've budgeted for another after-hour vehicle, something along the lines of another Traverse or a minivan, something like that. Those vehicles are always in demand. In fact, Mrs. Dubes sent out a note today updating everyone that there's several weeks coming through the spring where everything is exhausted. Don't bother asking, we've got no cars left. So this will be a big help, and we are getting up there a little bit in miles in some of our original minivans, so we want to have some kind of succession planning there too. We also talked about renovations to our greenhouse. We talked about getting some quotes on press boxes with storage below, perhaps some concession area, and broadcast game types of announcing, PA announcing from the top on the baseball and softball fields. Some bleachers to go with those. I want to make sure we're taking care of both the boys and the girls' sides to honor our Title I responsibility, or Title IX responsibilities there. And we're early in that conversation, but those things are likely to happen as early as this spring, summer at the latest. We also have talked with a community donor who was interested in helping to sponsor some of that and offset some of our costs on those field projects. We talked about the tennis courts. We're going to get some estimates on that. We've got some cracks forming there that are reaching the level of hazardous for play, and once we've got a quote on what it would take to repair that, we'll bring that back to the board for consideration. It's a small program. It's got a little bit of community use still these days, but we'll need to make a decision on whether or not, if you're going to have it, you want it to be nice and safe, or maybe you don't want to have it at all. Those will be the things we'll want to consider. And that's just about it. Did I miss anything there, Mike, that we discussed, or budget numbers?
I covered it.
Todd?
Those were the projects that we talked about.
All right. Thanks again, Mike, and
Yeah,
thanks
so
for
we just need a motion to approve the revenues and expenditures for the general fund budget updates.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
It's been moved by Paul, supported by Mary, to approve the budgetary update amendments as presented. Does anybody else have any further questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? All right, motion passed. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, administrator time.
We've got some reports on hand. Jill Berberg provided hers here after the fact. It didn't come in your original packet. She wanted you to make sure you notice those things. Had a great time with our Chinese exchange teachers while they were here. Unfortunately, the government issued a flight ban that sent everybody back. Not because there was any concerns with these individuals, they had been here for quite some time, but because there wasn't going to be flights available if they stayed out their original term. They were supposed to be here 3 weeks. 1 week in, their flights were banned back to China, and they had to get on one about 2 days later. It's a short notice, and they had to go. So that's just the reality of what we're dealing with there in that virus situation. You can see they're starting a greenhouse and gardening club, which is great news. There's a little greenhouse out behind the elementary that was put up just last year as Mrs. Dickens was leaving, brought in on a grant, And we're hoping that someone would step up and claim that, and it looks like they've got a plan.
Just a quick note on that, part of the long-term planning that SURE is putting together within the next 4 to 5 years involves a very large greenhouse project that is going to be, well, actually, you'd be privy to this information as well, wouldn't you? That is going to involve a lot of the community, and the point of including FFA and the gardening club and anything else from labor was seriously considered in that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. What would those foods be used for then, Paul?
As far as I know, local food shelter, providing any for farm fresh vegetables, sort of like farm to door for really any place, the hospital, I'm sure the school could get involved in those sorts of things as well, especially if the kids are going to be involved in that as well, so.
Awesome, great, exciting. She wanted us to mention also that she and a couple of her teachers attended a PLTW summit, that's Project Lead the Way. It's a kind of a high-end curriculum, rigorous, aggressive, has a lot of intense training, and if you want to use their terminology, their title on your classes, you have to agree to do things with fidelity, so this kind of training is necessary. They came back very, very excited. It was Morgan Beckler, Keelan Allred, and Jill Berberg. They attended and just loved it. And then just a few other things there of note. I think did you get a copy of this? Principal's report?
Not this
You can have a couple of these when you leave.
Appreciate it.
Beyond that, you had the others, I believe, in your packet. Mr. Verberg did want me to mention that in wrestling, Tyson Steinman was the one to advance to regionals,
Okay.
and that's exciting. On the powerlifting side, our powerlifting club qualified Blake Smithers, Lexi Smithers, Aaron McCardle, James McCardle, and Colton Oyavides. Those 5 have qualified now for state competition. And we have at least one in that group that are candidates to bring home some hardware at state. So it's exciting too. Just a second-year program, they've had outstanding participation in guys and girls. It's great. I can just kind of keep going here. Mike, did you have anything?
Just one quick note, just a reminder, on Tuesday, March the 10th, that's the primary election, and we have on the election for our renewal of our 18 mil general operating. That's coming up on March 10th. So I just wanted to mention that because the next board meeting will be after that. So it's the 20-year renewal for our general operations, the 18 mils that we assessed on the property taxes here for our district for our general operations. So it's not an increase or anything to that effect, it's just a renewal of what we've always been doing. So I just wanted to remind the board of that.
We'll want to send out some information on that to our community as well.
Making sure that the language says renewal.
Yeah. A little bit of education will go a long way on one of those. A couple other things here of note. Our one-act teams, both junior high and high school teams, had a great season, are finished. One-act in junior high has only a district competition. High school has the potential to go from districts onto regionals and then onto state. They ended their season at regionals this year, had some outstanding recognitions for set design and a couple of the actors, but as a team did not advance to state competition this year. So they're back to the drawing board. They are offering a dinner theater though, March 21st and 22nd, as a kind of a fundraiser and an additional theater kind of activity for those kids. Going to have a 50s diner theme, and I think there's actually going to be waiting tables on roller skates. So come well protected and prepared. FFA is in the middle of a fantastic season. They've got a number of teams advancing to state out of regional competition, which was at districts were at USA, regionals at Delta, and we've got several teams and individuals advancing for state competition. That's very exciting. And one other thing I wanted to mention was that we had a guy named Russ Davis, and he's the Michigan director for the U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship program. And we had him in for a meeting to discuss what an apprenticeship program could look like within our school and community. We were very excited about it. It cuts through some of the red tape that exists in the CTE realm and allows kids at 16 years old with some minimal training to take up an apprenticeship, kind of a job placement with a local employer. So it could be castings, it could be accounting, it could be a position right here in our own school. For example, a teacher assistant who might be interested in teaching industrial arts, who has some experience in the class, meets the other qualifications, could be employed by the school if we were an approved registered apprentice provider to assist our industrial arts teachers in instructing other students. That's a great example of how that could work and be very helpful to both sides, because the more bodies, the more eyes, the better for safety reasons and things in a shop. And there's other opportunities as well. I like the idea of us being an apprentice program in addition to providing apprentice students to other programs, because we'll be in lockstep and know what the obstacles and things are like, as well as our, along with our community partners. So that was brought up at our CTE advisory meeting, actually the next night. That timed up quite well. Those people are on the table: Gemini, Tower, Castings, Blue Diamond, and others were very excited about those possibilities. They could get our kids out there, get them some on-the-job training, pay for some additional education. These would be paid positions right out of the gate, and would potentially give them a jump start on hiring kids right out of school and show them what they have to offer right here in this area. Higher paying skilled jobs that might keep them around. So more to come on that. We're just scratching the surface, but we're all pretty excited about that possibility. The one other thing I would mention is that we are actively researching membership fees, hours, all of those kind of things for our new Legacy Center. Had a few questions come back through the community, people anxious to know. They're seeing this beautiful building go up. It's big, it's grand, it's exciting, and now they're wondering what's going to be there for us as a community. And as we've promised all along, this was going to be built with community in mind. We intend to have very generous hours. We're looking into the liability and legality of what those hours can look like, but our hope would be that we could offer even some daytime hours in set-aside times when students wouldn't necessarily be in the building, or if they are in the building, there would be proper precautions and things, and we have some separated spaces in there between the community fitness areas and the student educational spaces. It could work out quite nicely. We'll have lots of surveillance in there. We're working on what the registration and supervision situation would look like at the front door, looking at what the entry process would be. Is it cards and fobs, kind of like you'll see at fitness facilities? And then surveillance does the work on the inside, or do we have people on staff all the time to monitor and serve the people who come to visit? Do we need background checks? Those kind of questions are all being explored. We're looking into other schools that run facilities for hire, community fitness places that have membership structures. But we want our community to know that our students are going to be free, and we're hoping to have a very reasonable cost basis for everyone else to use these facilities and be able to enjoy them. That was the intent, and remains that way. So, any questions on any of that or comments? From you gentlemen from the news, anything on that? Any questions there?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Feel free to call if you do, and we'll keep you informed as well. That's all I've got.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Brian? If you do have any questions on the data that Jeff has, if you could just copy me and Brian on it, so I know what you guys have for questions, and that it's all being followed up. And I'm sure Brian will relay it to everybody else, because I know that interests us all with the students and what's going on with them, so, just keep that in mind as you look at the report.
That's regarding attendance, student performance, things like that.
Yeah, Chuck put together a pretty good report for us, so I'd hate for him not to be able to back up his data, so.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mary, supported by Heath to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks everybody and have a safe trip home.